So he says he's learned the secret and he's learned to be content in whatever circumstance I am. We look at our lives and we go, oh, life is good. I'm content with this. It's good. But then when relationships have problems, when children go sideways, go astray, when financial loss, all of these different things, are we still content? Is our focus still on God? Do we say, naked I came, naked I'll return, blessed be the name of the Lord? Or do we, right? So 1 Timothy, Paul's writing to Timothy, and in writing to Timothy, he's instructing Timothy about false teachers here in chapter 6. Verse 3 of 1 Timothy chapter 6, he says, if anyone advocates a different doctrine, and so he's talking about people who are not adhering to the truth, he describes those people in verse 5 as those who suppose that godliness is a means of gain. And so this is health, wealth, and prosperity gospel. That they suppose that if you follow God, then you'll get rich. That's what it says. And so in that context, he says, but godliness actually is a means of great gain when accompanied by contentment. Okay? For we have brought nothing into the world, so we cannot take anything out of it either. Oh, sounds familiar, doesn't it? Naked I came, and naked I'll go. All of the things that cause us discontent, they're irrelevant when we go to be with the Lord. And so why are we discontent about them now? Because our focus is on the things of this world rather than the things of God. He says here, we brought nothing in the world, we can't take anything out. Verse 8, if we have food and covering, with these we shall be content. If we have food and covering today. This is not the American way. The American way is food and covering for today and tomorrow and the rest of our life. If there's uncertainty, and the world around us, pressures all of that, like, you got a plan for this. And I remember working for PGE, and they'd have financial planning meetings you had to go to. And it says, well, if you put this much money in savings and you save this much, then you'll be a millionaire whenever you're 85. I'm like, I'm going to be dead, all right? And so he says, well, if you have food and covering, with these you shall be content. But then notice this, verse 9 has the word but. You shall be content with food and covering, but those who want to get rich. Important for us to define riches. What is riches? Riches is, you are rich if you have more than enough for today. That's the biblical definition. You have an abundance. You have more than you need for today. We are all rich, very rich. He says those who want to get rich fall into temptation. So in contrast to contentment is the desire to get rich. Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a snare and many foolish and harmful desires which plunge men into ruin and destruction. It's an interesting verse because it talks about desires. We have a desire for food and covering. That desire then, because of sin, we want to be rich. Money is a false sense of security against death or harm or loss. And so people think, in the book of Proverbs it says, a man's riches is a high wall in his imagination. So if you have money, you can buy doctors, and you can buy insurance, and you can buy food, and you can store it away, and it's like God says you're going to die, and you say, no, I got stuff. So riches is a deceptive aspect that builds a wall in the imagination of people that it will protect them from what God says is going to happen.